With a parallax background, the background scrolls and the person walking stays still, and it creates the illusion of movement. The extreme foreground would move the fastest, and the sky would move the slowest. The farther away an object is, the slower it's going to move. These are ones done by my students, and this last one is far more professional because it was done by a former student of mine, Samantha Yarosa, as a freshman in college at the School of Visual Arts. All right, here I am in Photoshop, and I've created a new document template. Now, let me just explain about this document, its size, and what these layers mean over here. So if I go here, image size, you're going to see that it's 32 inches across and 9 inches high, and has a resolution of 300 pixels per square inch. So the 32 inches, that's double the width of a YouTube video. And that's because it's going to scroll, okay? So if I go over here to the layers, you're going to see that one layer is sky, then sun or moon, clouds, background, middle ground, foreground, extreme foreground. It's very important that you work in the right layer and you don't get mixed up and put everything all in the same layer. So first I'm going to do my sky. I'm going to set the foreground color to, I don't know, kind of like an orangey sunset color. So over here, I'll set the background color to like a yellow. Okay, and actually I'm going to switch the background and foreground. So see these two little arrows here, I'm going to switch them. And now I'm going to find my gradient tool. There it is. And the gradient tool can go in lines, so it looks like this. Click and drag. But it can also go in like there's a sun here. And that's kind of nice as well. So I'm going to keep it to that. I think I'm going to now go to the sun or moon layer, and I'm going to make a sun. So I'm going to go to my circle tool or ellipse tool. Sometimes when you first go to your shape tool, it'll look like a rectangle, and hidden underneath, if you just click and hold, you should get all the hidden tools, and there's the ellipse tool. Okay, so it says here that the fill is nothing and that the stroke is black. That's not what I want. I want the fill to be, I don't know, it can be any color. Just make it black, it doesn't matter. But I want the stroke to be nothing. So that red line that slashed through the white box means no stroke color. So it's just going to be a black circle, but it's going to be, it's not going to have an outline. If I hold the shift key and I pull it out, it will be a perfect circle. There you go. So now I need to color my sun in, and let me deal with that. So again, make sure you're in the sun or moon layer. You do layer, layer style, and I'm going to do gradient overlay. So I'm looking at the gradients. There's a drop down arrow here, and I think I'm going to go with oranges. And I'm looking at the different gradients, and I kind of like this one. Let me see if I can get one with a more yellow in it. What are the iridescent ones like? Let's see. Well, that's pretty. I don't know, it doesn't look like much. With this one. Oh, you know what? I like that one. Okay. So I found one that I like. So you can change the angle as to which side's lighter. So I'm going to make the bottom lighter. There we go. You can change it from a linear to a radial gradient. That's kind of nice. So the color kind of radiates from the middle. So I'm messing around with it a little bit. the scale. I can make the scale larger or smaller. And I can change the opacity as well, making it 100%. All right, so let me just look at some of the other gradients here, see what I got. I sort of like this pink one as well. Okay, so I think I'll go with the pink one. And if I change the scale, I'll get a little more pink and a little less yellow. I think that's a nice gradient. So you mess around with it. You get the gradient you want. You can do edit, transform, rotate, and just rotate it a little. So I want it to be yellower in the bottom. So and then I hit this check mark. I have my sun or moon, and now I'm going to go to the cloud layer. Now the cloud layer is kind of fun. What you're going to do is I'm going to change the foreground color to like a white. Okay, and then I'm going to go to my paintbrush. I'm going to make my paintbrush really big. Okay, so you can see how big it is when you slide this over. I'm going to make the hardness 0. I'm also going to change the opacity. Now, this is something you have to switch back afterwards, or you'll be trying to draw and wondering why it's so light. But right now, I'm going to change the opacity, and I'm going to just try drawing some wispy clouds. Make sure you're in your cloud layer. Okay? So notice how if I go over the clouds, the more layers I put, the more saturated the color becomes. Now I'm going to add some yellow. So I changed my foreground color to like a yellow. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the opacity. And I'm going to just put a little bit of yellow, like I'm getting some glow from the sunset. Speaking of which, let me take my sun and move it down to the lightest part of the sky, because that would make sense. And I think I'll edit, transform, rotate. There we go. So it's like the lighter parts down, the darker parts up. Okay, so I got my sun. Let's see. So now back to the cloud layer. There's a few other things you can do with clouds that are really fun. One thing you can do is use your smudge or smear tool. Let me see if I can find it. Just hit these 3 dots. Okay, here's my blur tool, and underneath it is my smudge tool. Now, the smudge tool can be adjusted like any other brush. I can make it big, I can make it small, I can make it hard, or I can make it have a fuzzy edge. Right now, the strength is 100%. I'm going to change it so that it's lower. I'm also going to make it bigger. So I don't want a real strong smudge. I just want to be able to pull out these shapes and make them look more cloud-like. Get rid of my brush strokes. Okay, it's not really strong enough for me, so you see how it's slowly spreading out? So that's real fun. Just sort of subtly changing. Okay, so if I go over here to, I'm going to open up a new window in Google Drive. And let me just show you, I have some cloud pictures here that I want to share. So I'm going to go here to sky. I have a folder of sky pictures. And I want to look at what sky pictures really look like. So here are some nice clouds. Let me just look at these. Okay. So this is actually kind of an approximation of a similar sort of sky. So I'm going to download this picture. I'm going to go back to Photoshop. I'm going to do File, Open in Photoshop. And now I'm going to use my lasso tool, and I'm just going to cut out one of these clouds. Okay, so I'm going to do Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste, and I'm going to hide the background layer. I'm going to click on this eye and hide the background layer. Now I'm going to use my magic wand. It's the fourth tool from the top, and it's probably hidden under the Quick Select tool. So there it is. There's my magic wand, and I'm going to start clicking on and getting rid of the sky. So it's just the cloud. I'm just hitting the delete key on my keyboard and clicking on the parts I don't want. Now I'm going to do select deselect, and I'm just going to take an eraser, and I'm going to make it a little larger, and I'm going to just click on the outside areas that I don't want. Okay. So now I have this kind of interesting cloud formation, and now I'm going to do this. Edit, Define Brush Preset, and I'm going to call it Sunset Cloud. Okay, so created, I'm going to actually cancel this. I'm going to make it a little bigger. Edit, Transform, Scale. I'll make it a little bigger. I'm going to hit this check mark, and then I'm going to do Edit, Define Brush Preset, and I'm calling it Sunset Cloud. Okay. Now I'm going to take Sunset Cloud. I'm going to go over here, and it's very important. I'm still in the cloud layer. I'm not going to brush with it. I'm just going to click with it, but I've got to make it bigger. So Sunset Cloud can be changed just like any other brush. Make it larger and then click. Okay, let me change my foreground color. I want my foreground color to be white. Oh, I'm on eraser. Let me go to the brush tool. There we go. So let me go to here, to brushes, and I'm going to go to brushes, and I'm going to, I'm wondering if it didn't work because I was on the, let me go to, there it is. There's Sunset Cloud. Okay. So I'm on the brush tool. I'm on Sunset Cloud. There we go. Now my opacity is only 13%. What if I make it large, more opaque? There, I get these nice clouds. I'm just clicking. Okay, now what if I switch to yellow? So let me go to my foreground color and pick up some of this yellow. And all right, now what if I change the opacity, made it lower? So it kind of faded into the white. Okay, and what if I smeared it? Let's see, where's the smudge tool? There it is. I make it a little stronger, and I'm going to smudge some of this. You can see it takes a while to smudge, but it's looking kind of smeary and interesting. Now, the other thing that I can do with the cloud layer is I can do it's still smearing kind of in slow motion. That's kind of interesting. All right. So don't overdo it with the smudge tool because it just takes a while to process. I do love the effect though. All right. So now I'm going to do layer, duplicate layer. Okay. Now I've got a copy of the clouds and I'm going to move it over here. And now I'm going to change the opacity of that entire layer over here. Make it much lighter. Okay. Let me put clouds on top. I'm changing the order of the layers, and the cloud copy where it's much more faded underneath. I'm also going to do this, edit, transform, scale, and make the farther away clouds, in addition to being less opaque, I'm also going to make them smaller. And that's another thing that's going to give my image a sense of depth, is they're going to be faded and they're also going to be smaller. All right, so these are the cloud layer. So I've got these interesting clouds that are sort of smeared across my page. Now it's time to go up to the background layer.